Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ask Five. I'm Monica Molinaro, your host, and today I am joined by Nancy. So, Nancy, to get started, really, do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners and our watchers?
Of course. My name is Nancy Forget. I'm an occupational therapist. I'm also a PhD student, soon to be candidate at the Institute of Health Sciences Education. And I'm also a faculty member here at McGill at the School of Physical and Occupational Therapy.
Amazing. So, do you mind introducing the question that we asked our five for this episode?
Yes. The question was, how do you prepare to go to your first conference?
A very important question. Let's see what our five had to say.
So I'm Linda Snell. I am a clinician educator. My clinical work, I'm a general internist. I work at McGill, at the McGill University Health Center. The educator side, I am a core faculty member at the Institute of Health Sciences Education at McGill. And I'm also senior clinician educator at the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada.
Lara Varpio. I'm a professor of medicine at the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania and the co-director of medical education research at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
So today I'm joined by
Dept Saini, and I am presently enjoying being the president of McGill University, president and vice-chancellor. And I'm also a professor in the Faculty of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences.
I'm Kevin Eva. I work in the Center for Health Education Scholarship at the University of British Columbia.
Jacqueline Torty. So I am an assistant professor in the Department of Medicine and a scientist at CERI, the Center for Education, Research, and Innovation. And those are both part of the Schulich School of Medicine and Dentistry at Western University.
Let's say I'm preparing for my first conference in the field. How would you suggest that I prepare?
Well, first you've got to ask yourself, why are you going? Are you going because you're presenting an abstract or a poster? Or are you going because it happens to be in your town, it's in a topic area you're interested in? Or are you going to meet the gurus and in the field? Are you going to find a mentor? Are you going to try and get a job, et cetera, et cetera? So once you know that, it actually becomes fairly easy to prepare because you address those. Clearly, if you're going to give a presentation or poster of some sort, you will prep for that. But I think you should also find out who else is in your area, who's presenting with you, who's going to be next to you in the posters, and make sure that you get to know them because most likely they're doing work in your field. If you're going to look for a job, you need to do some homework beforehand. Where is it you want to work? Are those people going to be there? Maybe you can get in touch with them beforehand and say, I'd like to sit down and have coffee with you. You don't have to say, I'd like to sit down and have coffee because I want a job, but that's you still do that. If you're going to try and push what you're doing in your field, the same thing applies. Get in touch with people beforehand if possible. Now, having said that, networking is hugely important at conferences, even that sort of unplanned networking. So talk to people. The worst thing you can do at a conference is not talk. Not talk to people, not go out, put yourself out there. Go to the opening cocktail party. That's where you'll meet all kinds of people. Go to sessions where you think there'll be people who are in your field, and then talk to the person next to you. So part of it's beforehand, part of it's during, and with everything else in education, there's a before, a during, and an after. Part of it is after. Follow up. Send a quick email. Make sure that if you really want to get a mentor, get a job, find out more what's going on in the field, you actually flip them an email or give them a call afterwards.
How do you feel then with this advice about the cold email where you're just kind of emailing someone out of the blue to say, hey, are you available? Nice meeting you, all of those kinds of sentiments?
There's several kinds of cold emails, so there's a cold email. I get a lot of them. Hi, I would like to work in your lab. That shows they haven't done their homework, and it's a random email because I don't have a lab. Or they say, I'm working in glomerular filtration and I'd really like to work with you. They got the wrong person here. But there are clearly some emails where people are looking for supervision. They've done their homework beforehand. I pay a little bit more attention to them. Often, as a receiver of an email of that type, I will just send them off in the right direction if it's not something that I can deal with. Very small number of them actually really pique my interest, and then I'll often arrange a call of some sort to see what's going on. But frankly, the majority of cold emails show that people haven't done their homework. So to flip it and be on the other side, if you're going to send a cold email, make sure you've done your homework first, and make sure that you ask for something specific and reasonable for that particular individual. And end your email with something like, if this is not really in your field or you cannot do it, can you point me to someone who can? Which means it gives them the opportunity to do that.
I have one more follow-up about the conferences and
Sure.
everything like that. For folks that are maybe a little bit more shy than others when it comes to striking up a conversation in person, do you have any advice for those folks about how to get those conversations started?
Find a friend. By that, I mean, very often you're not going to the conference by yourself. You're going with someone else. And you tell them up front, look, I'd really like to meet this person. I'm a little shy. Do you want to come with me? That sort of thing. Also, if you're a student and some of your supervisors are going, even if you're a colleague with someone, they can do something which I call sponsorship. They should be the ones to say, hey, Jane, here is my fantastic PhD student, Joe, who does some great work that's similar to yours, blah, blah, blah. So you can, again, ask in advance for that. Usually your supervisors they should be doing that, basically. Your mentors should be doing that. So there's one final thing about conferences. Yeah, you're there to, learn more, present your stuff, get a job, whatever it is. But the main thing is you got to have fun. Conferences are fun. It gives you time away from your regular work. You can sit in a presentation. You can get all kinds of thoughts going around in your head. Have fun with that. Write it down. You'll get fantastic ideas. And then I get home and I go, oh, I did have an idea. What was it? No. But have fun.
Let's say that I'm heading to my first conference.
Oh,
in
fun.
the field. I know. How would you suggest that I prepare?
Okay, no.
Is that not where you thought the question was going?
No, I remember. No, it's just that I think one of the things that happens so often for junior people in our field is that they over-prepare. They sketch out entire days of activities. And I'm going to go to this session. I'm going to go to that session. I'm going to find this person and those. And it's good. It's important to have a plan. But I feel it should be a plan that's loosely held, because the joys of a good conference is the spontaneity. It's the corridor conversation you didn't anticipate and those sorts of things. But if you're going to your first conference, one of the things I almost said concert. It's not a conference. Yeah.
It feels like one, depending.
Depending on where,
Yeah.
Well, and that changes the tenor of a keynote. Get it? Boom, boom. Thank you. Just saying, this is what I bring.
You're like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, moving.
See you later.
Yeah. No, but depending on the conference that you're going to, you want to make sure that you take advantage of the opportunities that are there. And often you can't plan those. But there is one thing that I wish when people reach out to me, for instance, because they're going to a conference and they want to meet, a piece of advice that was given to me, and it really resonated, and I would love to have it be part of our collective consciousness. But what are some of your goals for this conference? And what are some of your goals for meeting? So if somebody says, I'm going to this conference and I would really love to talk to you, sure, fine, let's do that. We'll go for a coffee. That's fine. But do you want to meet in public, or do you want to meet in private? Do you want to meet in public because you want people to know that I know you? Does that serve a purpose for you? I never thought that was a thing until a mentee pointed it out. She's like, no, I need people to see me with you. It's like, wow, okay, sure. But it until it was pointed out to me, I didn't recognize there was a social function. Of course there is. But sometimes other people are like, I really need to talk to you in private because there's a serious topic or a sensitive issue and somebody might be crying. And if I say, let's meet at the coffee shop, that's really not appropriate. So I think if you're going to a conference, plan your agenda, have a sense of what you want to go to, But remember that the most important things you're doing are probably not in individual sessions listening to talks. It's the stuff that's happening in the corridors. We all know that. And if you're going to meet somebody, if that's an important thing, make sure you think about where and how you want to meet them. What's the purpose of this for you? And let the other person know, because then they can be supportive of that goal in a way that's appropriate.
Perfect. I also didn't think about the social function of being
Right?
seen. Like that, like until you just said that just now.
I was floored when she was like, I'd really like to meet you at this conference, but can we do it in like the main hall? I'm like, we're not going to get, like, we're going to get 3 sentences. She's like, I know, and that's the point. I'm like, dang, that never occurred to me. It just never occurred to me.
Yeah.
So it was really humbling too, because like, oh, don't be embarrassing, Varpio.
Yeah.
Don't talk about dinosaurs, right? Like, don't do it.
Gotta rein it in.
Right,
Gotta rein it in.
Lock it down.
Yeah.
Be professional.
Be normal.
Dang, it's so hard. What is normal anyway?
I couldn't tell you. Can I submit the exact same abstract to 2 different conferences?
I wish there was a rule, right? I wish there was clear guidance on this everywhere. The advice that was given to me back in the day was that you could present the same abstract once internationally, once nationally, and once locally. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's the way I do it. Now, the thing I tell my people, though, is that you better change the title. Because if you're somebody who feels differently about it, reads your CV, and they see the same title 3 times across your CV, they're going to start giving you the sketch eye. But that's probably disingenuous and not honest and all those sorts of things. But I wish there was a rule. I don't think there is in our field. There might be in other domains, but I don't think there's a rule in our world.
I think there's common like, well, I learned or I was told. Like that's how everybody comes into it. Like there's no formal, like when it comes to authorship, right? There's like ICJME guidelines.
Yeah.
There's no sort of guideline, I think, for conferences. Some conferences, I think, will put out a guideline. They'll say, this cannot have been submitted to any other conference. Please check this box. And blah, blah, blah.
And it's also really different on different disciplines, right? Like, so some of the more traditional fields, they have really strong expectations that you should present your best work at these conferences, 1 or 2 or 3 of them. And then once you've presented it there, everybody knows. Like that's like the announcement. So you could never present it anywhere else. But I don't think it works like that in our field. I don't think we have those thou shalt attend this conference because all the good stuff will be there conferences. I think we have a lot of different kinds of conferences that meet a lot of different needs. And I think the other thing that makes it tricky is that because we work with clinician educators, clinicians are in different specialties. So if they present it at I'm in pediatric emergency medicine. So if you present your findings in a pediatric emergency medicine society meeting, well, the medical education community writ large doesn't know what you did. So is that double dipping? Or is that 2 different audiences you're trying to get to? So maybe the thing is to figure out who your audience is and to has an audience already heard this? So I shouldn't repeat myself. I shouldn't sound like a one-trick pony. But if I presented to the pediatric emergency medicine community, chances are that the Association for Medical Educators of Europe hasn't heard this. So I can probably go there.
What's the difference between a conference and a symposium?
Symposia happen at conferences. Is that not what you mean?
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
So in my experiences, at a conference, you can have different kinds of talks. You can have a short podium presentation where you present a small study. You can have innovation reports where you can give a workshop, and that's when you're teaching people. Or you can have these symposia where we present on topics that are quite large, and you have a number of different speakers from different places addressing that. Now, I do believe, perhaps in Europe, that they have conferences that are built around symposia and not just the presentation of findings. So it's more about, all these different big topics and big leaders from around the world come to talk about these topics. That's how I think about the difference between a conference and a symposia. Is it true? Probably not. It's just the world according to Lara. The Laraverse, as Sherbino would like to say it. Yeah.
Going to conference, what's the difference between going to a conference and publishing a paper? Going to conference is the commercial for yourself as a scientist, right? And you want to put your best foot forward. So be ready to impress that really hotshot prof who walks up to your poster or is in your talk and asks a question, because that's how careers are built, to be noticed. And that question may well be well outside the stuff that you presented. So be ready, understand your subject. don't try to pack everything. That, as I said in the beginning, make it a focused presence. There's a temptation for you to tell the world everything. Decide what is it that you're going to leave behind and focus sharply on that.
It goes back to your original point of it being a commercial for yourself.
It is a commercial, yeah.
And I want to relate this and kind of probe a little bit further in terms of this commercial for yourself, not only being about whatever research you're doing at the time, but there's also a networking aspect to it, right? In terms of getting to know people or getting your name out there.
Yeah. And it's a crowded world. Yeah. Everybody's trying to get their name out there. So you have to remain authentic. And I've seen people try to do it in an inauthentic way, and that always misfires. Sometimes it misfires sooner than others, but it misfires. Be authentic, be yourself, but be clear about what it is that you want the world to remember about that experience.
I want to ask you a little bit more about that authenticity versus being inauthentic. In your experience, what have you seen that correlates with being authentic versus inauthentic?
I think sometimes it's the opposite that actually tells us how important something is. Like, for example, you know how important health is once you're sick. So I'll go there. What is inauthentic? So you're presenting a paper, and you have 4 authors on that. And if you're trying to if you end up conveying a sense that it's all your work, I think that people would, if you're struggling to do that, if you're really eager to do that, it comes across. Bringing others in who have done their part, acknowledging them, not just simply acknowledging them in the last slide with the names there, which nobody pays any attention to. But as you're going, I was doing X, and then I had help from Y, and we put our efforts together, and this is what we got. That has a massive impact on people, because you're saying 2 things. One thing, that you're being honest about it. Number 2, in this day and age where problems that we solve or try to solve are complex, conveying a message that you actually reach out to people and work together with others is actually a major. If you manage to do that in the middle of your presentation, that's a coup.
That's a great example too, because it's very subtle in a way.
It's very subtle.
You're not going out and making a declaration about it. It's very subtle that you're acknowledging how you worked with different people to make this work.
Yeah. And ready to say, okay, well, this is what we did, but this one didn't work. Okay? Or I did this experiment this way and I messed up. And those things actually, but then I came back home and I thought about it, and this is how we did it again. And look, this is what there's. Rather, actually putting in something that didn't work also looks very good. One thing that I actually learned it from my PhD supervisor. He told me once, but I was going for an international conference, and I had some pretty neat conclusions. And he said to me, Deep, let me tell you a trick. Now, this is a bit of a trick, but it actually, done right, it can actually leave a very good impression. He says, leave something obvious out that somebody's going to ask a question on, and then have the slide ready for it that you didn't show. And I thought that was neat. So when you have multiple things that you are conveying, and you leave 1 or 2 out, and somebody says, what about that? Yeah, we did that. Here is a slide. Yeah. It's that I don't consider that inauthentic. That is just simply being strategic.
It's kind of like when you go to a conference with a buddy or 2 and you say, hey, can you ask me this question at the end of the presentation?
Yeah, that's planting a question.
Yes. Is that a little less authentic?
Yeah, I'm not recommending that. But I think rightly done, not answering all the questions in your presentation, but being ready to answer them is actually a good strategy. Mm-hmm. First thing you do is you don't overload your presentation, And second, you come across very well when you have an answer for the question that's asked.
Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate the comment about being honest and somewhat vulnerable in the way that you present your work. As I'm a qualitative researcher myself, and that's kind of one of the hallmarks of rigorous and well done qualitative research, is that you're honest about what the process was like. And you can say, hey, we made all these mistakes in the beginning, or our assumptions about this were wrong. And so we had to change what we were doing about this to move forward. And I think that that's something that really could be adopted a little bit more widely than what it is, because that honesty also shows that you're a human trying to pursue something new.
Yeah.
Let's say that I'm heading to my first conference in this field. How would you suggest that I prepare?
I think the most important thing you can do is spend some time well in advance thinking about what are your goals? Who are you trying to meet? What messages are you hoping to convey? Especially the bigger conferences like AMI, there's no way you're going to accidentally bump into the people that you might want to meet. So even sending emails in advance, if there's somebody that you want to make sure you have time with, set up a meeting time to chat with them rather than trusting that it'll happen by happenstance. And go through the program somewhat judiciously. Find the people that you want to hear from. Find the topics that you're interested in, but make sure that you're trying to take advantage of the opportunities to talk with people outside of the formal program rather than filling the entirety of your day or your weekend or your week with sitting in a classroom, just listening to one 10-minute presentation after another.
I think that's something that people take for granted at these conferences, is that especially junior folks sometimes feel compelled to be at the entirety of the conference, when in reality you can use it as an opportunity to talk to different people, to explore the setting of where the conference is. You can do both together, but you don't have to be sitting in the room or listening to the presentations all day, each day of the conference.
Absolutely. And I think junior people do that for a few reasons, though. One is that you just don't have the network, and there's nothing more awkward than walking around the exhibition hall or the lobby and just hoping somebody talks to you. And so until you start to build some personal connections, it's hard to know what to do other than just see something interesting on the program and go watch it. But definitely as people become more senior, less and less are conferences about the formal program. There have been a couple of conferences I've gone to where I realized I shouldn't have even paid the registration fee, because all my entire week was spent just sitting and chatting with people in the lobby or somewhere nearby. So I think it's really important to recognize that these things are networking, connection building opportunities that don't mean that you're shirking the work of the conference. It's actually part of the reality of social science, the world being a social game, and our scientific enterprise being very dependent on making personal connections so that you can really understand what others are offering you and hopefully translate some of the insights that you've gained to them as well.
Can I submit the exact same abstract to 2 different conferences?
I tend to go by the rule that you wouldn't submit it to 2 different places that have the same delegates. Right. So if there's a conference that's a local conference, we have a research day every year at my center, we actively encourage people who submit to that conference to also submit to ICAM or to their specialty meetings. There's no overlap between the groups, and the entire goal of doing the scholarship that we do is to disseminate the information to as many people as possible. So I don't see conferences as having quite the same plagiarism rules or duplicate publication rules as we have in the journal space. I think the entire aim is to help as many people as we can learn about and get interested in our work. And so the more opportunities you have to share it, the better.
What's the difference between a conference and a symposium?
I have no idea.
I don't either. Has anyone? I don't know if anyone's been able to answer that question, because I don't know what the difference is.
So I would think of a conference as a collection of activities. So a program's been brought together. It typically has plenary sessions, oral papers, posters, all the things that I'm sure everybody listening to this would be familiar with. Within a conference, often people have a symposium as a particular type of session. And so I guess I would define that more specifically as a group of people coming together to present on a uniform theme. So from a variety of different angles, but to me, a symposium, I guess, is more a collection of perspectives on a topic rather than just a gathering of people for a wider array of presentation types.
So if you were to give advice to someone headed to their first conference, how would you suggest they prepare?
So I think there's a couple of things that they can do to prepare. The first and foremost is actually do prepare, because it's really important. Oftentimes what I do and the advice I've been given going into the conferences is to map out the schedule and take a look through the sessions, particularly for any conference that's a bit larger. There's going to be a lot of concurrent sessions where there's multiple scientific presentations happening at one time. And so it's really helpful, I find, to go through the program or the agenda for the conference and really start to map out your day of which sessions you want to go to, which ones pique your interest, read through the abstracts. Sometimes I do it based on who's presenting, if there's particular people that I enjoy listening to or insights that I really enjoy hearing about. I'll often kind of pick those people out and craft a bit of my own personal agenda for the day. Some conferences even have apps that allow you to do that, to track which sessions you want to go to so that it all kind of pre-programs onto your phone, which is really helpful. Another thing that I do to try to prepare is I'm more of an introverted person, but I really force myself to be a bit of an extrovert during conferences. And I find it's really helpful to plan some networking. So in advance of the conference, particularly if you see certain presenters are going to be there that you haven't yet had the opportunity to meet in person, or maybe that you've met in person but haven't had a ton of opportunity to interact with because of where they're located, it's often helpful to send a quick email a few weeks in advance to say, hey, I hear you're going to be at this conference, really interested in hearing your presentation, perhaps during the break. If you have time to grab a quick coffee, I would love to catch up. I often use it for thinking about, dinners and lunches and the breaks and just kind of trying to organize some time. I would say it's also important not to over plan and to leave room for just being a little bit more spontaneous as part of it. Oftentimes when you're at these events and you start to meet people and get to know the community, there's invitations to come, join them on a walk, or we're going to go see this. Would you like to come? Or I'm going to this workshop. Do you want to join? And so also being a little bit flexible in how you approach it. But I think the biggest thing is being prepared, going to it in advance and taking a look. A lot of us often even have conversations, this is where we started, of what you wear to a health professions education conference. It sounds a little silly, but there's a wide variety of how people dress at these conferences. Some people very formal, suit and tie approach, other people jeans and a blazer, and others yet I've seen, yoga pants and t-shirts and flip-flops. And so we've had a lot of conversations on even like what to pack and how to dress. Always, I think, better to be over-prepared and maybe a little bit overdressed for the occasion than underdressed. Not talking formal wear, but professional blouse or, blazer or something that you can wear. In fact, I just had this conversation as of recent at ICAM because there was such a wide variety of how people were dressing for the event. So those are some things I tend to think about. Travel is also really important in putting all those pieces in place. A piece of advice that I got from someone very early on, which was really helpful actually, is in your carry-on or in what you're wearing, always have your work outfit prepared or any materials that you might need just in case there's any issues with baggage or things like that, which have happened to multiple people that show up in, shorts and flip-flops and a t-shirt to the conference as a result of that. So all those little things too. But I think the biggest thing is just having conversations with people who have been to conferences before, knowing a bit of what to expect and how it works. And then again, really going through the program and seeing which sessions you want to go to, but also giving yourself a little bit of space to be a bit more spontaneous in terms of any of the networking that happens as a result. Yeah. One of the scientists at my center also said that the conference begins on the flight. And so, like, also don't show up to the flight in yoga pants and a tank top or something, because very much, you know, a lot of people are probably on that same flight headed to that same conference. And so to, you know, start playing the part from the beginning of travel.
So Nancy, what did you think?
I think it was all great advices that all the different experts brought up. I think the main thing that came out, the main message is just being prepared. Like, prepare yourself in advance. Email people if you have to. Look at the schedule. Try to come up with a schedule of your conference.
I think on top of that, with the be prepared bit, there were some notes about, like, make sure you pack extra clothing in your carry-on in case I found that to be a really helpful piece of advice, because I don't think I've ever done that for a conference.
Yeah, no, it was great advice. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Was there anything that surprised you in the advice that was given in the episode?
Not real, but yes and no, quite frankly. I think, again, my main take-home message was be prepared, but I think also the main message was, but not be that prepared. Take advantage of being somewhere else, take advantage of meeting people. So I think that was the interesting part. And even some people, because as students, when we register and we want to go to a conference, is to actually just listen to the new evidence and whatnot. But it kind of, some of the experts were almost saying, no, just maybe don't even go to the different talks and whatnot. Just take advantage of those amazing discussions, like corridor discussions, over a coffee discussions. So I think that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. With that, is there anything, I'm gonna ask you a question that's on the flip side of what I just asked you. Is there anything that you were surprised that they didn't say? Or were you thinking that they were going to give a certain piece of advice that they didn't end up giving?
I think that's on the other flip side. I would have thought that they would say to, a junior like me to just really get advantage of the conference, go to every single session you can, because that's how you can get more ideas and whatnot, because it's all the new evidence. But he kind of almost wanted to, I think it's a right balance, right? But I was more expecting them to say, really just take advantage of looking at all the different sessions and whatnot, when it's a bit the opposite way around. And quite frankly, that leads me to another kind of a good surprise, or something they've said, was how approachable they all were. Taking the advantage of being like a junior, going and talking to more senior experienced researchers, and even sending them emails in advance to plan a meeting with them. For me, the approachable of every single people that talked was amazing.
Oh, yeah. I think it's such an important part, because as junior folks, we don't necessarily know that you can go up and talk to someone before or after a talk if you have questions for them, or that most folks are open to those conversations. Like, that's the point of going to this conference, is that people want to meet people. Yep. And so I think it's a really important piece, because I think sometimes it gets really intimidating to talk to someone that's giving a talk, or maybe there's someone whose work you really admire that you've been reading for a long time, and all of a sudden they're presenting at this, and like you see them in person, you're like, oh my God, this person is real. It's not just like a last name on that paper that I cited.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was amazing, but also enhance. It's taking all the opportunities and even going beyond your comfort zone. If you're more introverted, you just go out there and still, talk to people, introduce yourself. But a few of the experts were also saying, try to keep some sort of a professional behavior. Don't go there in yoga pants, and, because expect that it's experts you're meeting, and you want to present the best of yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. And to everyone else, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you for the next episode of Ask 5.
Oh, I can just say that then. I don't have to say anything about division amendment. Yeah, okay, I'm ready.
Perfect. Okay, good to go.
Yep.
Okay, so today I'm joined. I have to take a minute. They need it for the editing. I'm sorry. I'm
your
screeching
serious
into your
voice.
ears.
I'm sorry, I was loud there.
The only time I'm supposed to look over there is when I'm doing the weird I'm not Monica thing. Right? I'm clearly not Monica.
I can, my hot take, and they know this, is that I think mashed potatoes are garbage.
Oh, that's just wrong.
See? But that's a hot take. I think mashed potatoes are gross. Yeah. You're like, you know what? I actually can't do this anymore. So I don't need to face you. I can just get started. Okay. So today I'm joined by Nancy. Nancy, do you mind introducing ourselves to our audience?
Yes.
I said ourselves, didn't I? See?
See, I'm not even listening to you. I'm just like, my
You're
cue,
like
my cue.
so focused. You're like, nope, she hasn't told me yet. I need to say my name. Oh my God. No, I know how to say the word research. I don't know what's wrong with me. I know. Shut up. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna get it right. 3 times the charm. I know, but that's why. Like, I have to take a pause.
Okay, pause.
And then so they can cut it. I know it sounds so pretty. Stop. This is gonna be such a nice.
It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome.